Hey there. It's been a while, and I didn't mean to come to you in the dark. That's just the time that I got available to do this, I guess. And that's not really true because earlier today I was just laying here. Um, okay, so let's talk. I said I would come back. I'm back finally. Um, the beginning of this channel, there is a video of me in 2019 where I mention something I was doing that was a sign of psychosis. I cannot immediately, I can't remember the name of the video. Okay, but um, there is, I was in La La Land for a while. And, it's something that I've been fighting for some time, obviously. Um, I think that I go in and out, which is definitely still under the borderline personality disorder. Um, I distinctly remember not really being fully coherent in around when I first moved in this apartment. Um, my neighbor was flashing me. And now I never actually saw his dick, but it was the intention behind it and the words that he was saying when he did it was very triggering. And the phrase that he said at one point was that it was the unclean spirit. He once called me a demon in clothing. These things are very triggering. So I can recall, like, not being completely in reality. Um, and I noted sometime last year, um, I was probably, I think I submitted to it. Um, after, I can't remember what month this happened, but I went to the hospital for um, chest pain. Like, I genuinely thought I was having a heart attack or some shit. I was not. It kind of just boils down to, a panic attack. But after that point, everything has kind of just been on autopilot. And I know that I recognize, okay, this happened to me before. There was a show with Elijah Wood. The name of the show was called Wilfred. And essentially, Elijah Wood's character was schizophrenic. And he was doing all these things with the neighbor's dog. But the dog presented himself as a hallucination. Well, the dog didn't do that, but the dog was presented as a man in a dog suit. Okay? And so he was talking to this dog as if he was a human and getting himself into all kinds of trouble. Now, the show is actually an artistic form of DBT or CBT therapy. And I watched the show in full. And then like it was like maybe the next day because I'm watching the show and I'm processing because each episode essentially touches on some of these, traumas and things like that. So I'm processing, and, maybe like a day or two afterwards is when I just, you know, I reality hit. Reality sunk in. I saw things completely different, and I had like a moment of clarity. That was like 2000. I want to say that was like 2015, right? So I've had this happen before. The experience that I'm experiencing now, I know what I'm experiencing, um, and my algorithm was uh, it was telling me that I was. And if you watch some videos, maybe within the last 3 or 4 months, I've even like said it and laughed it off. But very much, I just don't think that I was ready to come in back to reality. Um, it might not make sense to someone, but someone it will. So I had things. I'll give you another example, right? Um, it's not my own though. There's a story. I think it's like a Reddit post where a guy got in a car accident, and he lived a dream where he was married for 10 years, but there was, I don't know, I think he was like staring at a lamp or something, and something was wrong with the lamp, and he just stared at it until he was back in reality and he was awake. I had several moments like that in the last year. That doesn't mean that every single thing that I've ever said is not um valid, but the reason that um people don't want to admit when they realize they've been behaving delusionally or anything like that is because obviously by admitting that you may have had a psychotic break, um, it can discredit a lot of things that you say. You know what I'm saying? I understand that. But the most important thing to recognize is that because I function on facts, even in there's even in psychosis, in a delusional episode, a psychotic break, because I choose to function on facts, the majority of everything I said, stated, or talked about still was facts. But it's important to know that at some point last year, I I checked out, and I've just been running on autopilot. As we get and draw closer to me coming back, um, you can actually see that in the channel. I'm like more erratic. I'm a little bit not kept. Um, just trying to get through it. And I think that I accepted it because that panic attack could have been a heart attack. And I was just too stressed. And I would have moments where, the hints would come to me, and it was just like as if I was watching Wilfred. Like I would have those little moments of clarity or process. And so I'm going to tell you a few of the things that I've seen in the last couple of months. Um, you know, trying to coax me back out. um, there's a short video by Jack Stauber, and it was really interesting that Jack Stauber was in in introduced here because um, in 2019, which is when I first noted that I was going into, like experiencing some of the early signs of psychosis. Jack Stauber was like, I was obsessed. I really liked him, right? So he had a short film that he produced called Opal, and um, it popped up on my screen. I forgot about it, but Opal is about a young girl who is neglected and is in a household full of people who do not take care of her. Um, and she has maladaptive daydreaming. And like I sat and I meditated on that for a long time, you know, because it kind of shows that imaging of um, how kind of you just go in a la la land. You just trying to get in the trying to get through the day. Um, the next one, I do not know the name of this YouTuber, but she speaks heavily on eating disorders. But she went into spiritual psychosis for a little bit, and she was talking about that, and that was the second theme. Uh, and I can like remember saying something about being in psychosis and like just laughing it off because it's whatever. Like in this state, I haven't really done too much to hurt anybody, but we'll get into it here in a minute. Um, yeah, retreat back into my hole. I knew what she was saying. I knew exactly what she was saying. I related to everything. If I'm not ready yet, I'm not coming out. um, I distanced myself from my imaginary friends. And I mean, if they were actually my friends, I'd probably do that in real life too, except for Drake. But recognizing that I was detaching from them wasn't because I was separating myself from them. Um, Having them in the first place was like giving permission to be delusional, but like in a not so dangerous way. But um, it's the irony behind saying I'm more healthy, because I was very aware that I was not, and I had said that I was separating from them as I become more healthy, but it's weird. I'm going to try my best to explain what just happened to me, but the reason that I was separating myself from them isn't because I was separating myself from them. I was fully in in I was fully in the delusion, so I didn't really need them because I was delusional delusional about other things and just like smiling and just getting through the day, as I've already stated, right? So recognizing that, okay, I'm detaching from Drake, I'm detaching from Kanye, and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't because I'm more healthy, but essentially I am. And I'll explain that a little bit more here in a second. Um, the next thing that I saw, which if I can find it, because I've watched it recently as well. Um, was a therapist who was presenting um, the research done in regards to gang stalking. Um, and this was kind of like the last thing that I was like, okay, you gotta come out now. You gotta come out now. um, she had mentioned a and excuse me, by the way. She had mentioned a scenario in which a woman had been stalked, and it wasn't gang stalking, it was just she was predatorily stalked by someone who had intention to harm her. Excuse me, and actually did. um and the trauma response to that was paranoid delusions of stalking, right? So I have actually been experiencing that specific thing, um, probably for a little, probably I would say shortly after the If You Seek Amy uh, video, or actually in general around that time, because that's when I went off on Lovely T, right? And me feeling as if like every single person is fucking with me, or the paranoid delusion. So it's been a while, but it really like set in, and I think I just gave up trying to fight it, because that's all I've ever done is try to fight it. I finally just gave up and just went through it. And so one thing that I've learned from this situation is that the only way out is through. Um, I spent a lot of time, it was like far more exhausting to fight it, which was, I think I mentioned too, like something was going on with I can't remember, I don't remember. Um, but it's when in the videos I made something about the medication, right? I made a comment about the medication. Um, the medication like fights it. It fights it off, right? But there's certain things, like certain issues, certain things that need healed within psychosis. Like you have to go in there, in the la la land, and sort it out there. And because I've done it before, I knew what to do. Um, Now, the first time I did it, I didn't do it intentionally. This time I did, I think. Um, and not really intentionally, just coming out was intentional, is what I mean. Going in, it was just, succumbing to, it's really hard. It's really hard to fight that shit. Okay? It's really hard. So I just gave into it and I let it run its course. And I continued to go to therapy. I continued to rest and get the things. But the day that I like resurfaced was just a very weird day. I've felt really weird for a couple weeks. I gave myself the ick with that video. There's a video that was out there was a video that was out about G and the man of the hour or whatever. And that video just gave me so much cringe, I had to come back to reality. That video gave me so much cringe. I've never really talked about things like that in that, uh, things that are not facts. That video is not factual at all. Um, it was all feelings. And those feelings were created within the delusion. Um, it's just my perception of what's going on, but the perception isn't even correct. Um, and that's been going on for a while. You know what I'm saying? And I'm aware of that, but what that does is ultimately you have to now sorry for what I was doing when I was delusional. You got to go around and make your rounds and take accountability for that. However, part of the process is you know is the act of taking accountability. The only way out is through. Maybe for someone else, they may not feel that way. But myself personally, I feel incredibly different. I can't put it into words right now. Um, Another thing that I've just been, it's like coming it's hard to describe. It's like a lot of blankness, like a lot of my mind is just, it's like this. Um, because another thing too is that um, the emotional mind ran a lot of the show. Now the rational mind came and showed itself multiple times, but it doesn't mean that uh, I was grounded and firm in reality. But that's like the importance of dealing in facts. That is the importance of dealing in facts, because you still found me to give you credible information, right? Um, Excuse me. And I had said, there was some point where I had said, I'm not dealing with them because I'm healthier. You know, Essentially now on the other side of this, I am actually very much healthier. There's some stuff that's not okay. Right now I'm having seasonal allergies, and I'm not really breathing well, so I have to do a breathing test. But my A1C went down, my glucose is completely normal now. Um, my iron levels are getting better. I'm still not out of the woods for that, right? But ultimately, I am healthier now. Uh, and I didn't really do a whole lot. I just allowed myself to be delusional. That is a defense mechanism, a coping mechanism, and it worked for me. I'm not saying that everybody should just, throw caution to the wind and live delusionally, but that's what I was doing for maybe the last year and a half. Also picked up smoking weed. Uh, I would say semi heavily. Definitely heavier than I have in years. And there's another thing too that you may not have noticed, but the amount of readings diminished because there came a point where I wasn't in communication um, with the angels. I mean, they were always there, like the angel numbers still pop up and things like that, but um, it just wasn't a clear line of communication. It was almost as if like you get into a certain part of the valley and the like the reception's bad. and your phone call drops. You know what I'm saying? They still trying to call you and they still trying to talk to you, but you can't get to them. And you're not by yourself though. Like you're not. They're still watching. They're still making sure. But you're just the communication was kind of murky, and so I stopped touching my tarot for a little bit. The other reason is because I was smoking weed. I think I've mentioned before that I'm not really supposed to smoke weed when I do tarot. That was a requirement. That is what I was required to do. So when I started picking up on smoking weed a little bit, uh, also pulled away from my cards. Um, I would like to share more, but right now is not really a good time. But I didn't want to leave you hanging for much longer. If you were questioning what I think I'm a terrible person about, really nothing. It's really kind of funny because throughout this entire time of though I'm not completely here, um, it was there's nothing really that I did incredibly wrong to anyone except for G. Um, like that whole thing that I watched when I watched it, it like gave me a lot of cringe because I don't know what actually goes on. Now as far as like the stuff with my mom and stuff like that, no, it's there's an account at Chase Bank. Okay. When I mentioned it, I was hung up on, you know, and every time it's mentioned, I'm avoided for a little bit until someone has to, save face. So like that stuff going on with my mom is true, but when it comes to G, like I don't know. Uh, well, actually, I do know, but at the time, I was just so far in delusions that I actually realized that I'm part of the problem there, and I have I have come to terms with that. I allowed myself to go so far with that particular delusion. Um, and that's why I'm a terrible person. But other than that, it's been BAU here. Like, business as usual. Aaron gets to school on time every day. Um, shit like that. But yeah, I just got back. I just touched down. What's up? I painted my nails. Like, I haven't done that in a while. But these are things that I could not maintain. I couldn't deal. I don't know. At some point last year, I just shut down. But we got through the whole school year, and that's probably really the only way it was gonna happen. Um. So I'm rambling a little bit, because it's still a lot to process. It's like I'm trying to give you examples that you would be able to relate to, be like, oh yeah, yeah. But it's kind of hard. It just feels like I don't. It's hard. It's so weird. It's so weird to explain it. It's like I don't know. It's like walking on. It's like walking in the middle of a conversation between two people or something. That might be a good way to put it. Coming back from psychosis can feel really shocking, especially if you've done like a lot of terrible things while under that. But luckily, I haven't. Um, I haven't done a whole lot of terrible things during psychosis. I would say I regret the little string of videos talking about um, you know, but over the last, I would say, mm, it's been about it's I don't know, it's been about a month where um, just more coaxing. It's literally from the universe, like, okay, it's time to come out now. You've been in there long enough. Like, you gotta come out. You got a deal now. Come on. And then I come out, and it's like, dang. Oh, it's like, here's an example. Um, I'm from Canal Winchester, and every time I go back to Canal Winchester, it looks just remarkably different from what I grew up with, right? And so it's kind of like that. It's like leaving somewhere and coming back, and all the directions are different. Everything's different, you know? Um, over the last few weeks, just the way that I have um, structured some parts of my routine. Okay, now, since being back, I have had an issue with waking up at 7 o'clock for school, and which is interesting because everyone knows that I usually wake up around 5. But all of a sudden, I'm unable to do that. And it's just because 5 o'clock was the autopilot. Like regular me, I'm not able to, I'm tired. So I act tired, but psychosis me gets it done. That's the whole point of why psychosis me was uh, introduced to the scenario, because you're just running on autopilot. Maybe some things are bothering you, like the G thing, but the G thing was a hyper focus to further not deal with whatever issues it was that I was dealing with. Which obviously you all know what those issues are, but a hyper focus on this issue over here, and that's what's delusional about it. I'm hyper focused on this dude over here. All this other shit uh, that's going on that I don't really want to focus on or really deal with right now. I can't right now. And literally, it was just that I can't right now. My son is about to go to school. I need to be able to do certain things so that we can make it through. So it's coming to be the end of the school year. It's time to come out. You ain't been here all school year. you know? So I sleep a little, I sleep in. Uh, he still gets ready for school on time and things. I just don't have that extra preparation time. But my routine has just randomly just been very super solid outside of that one little thing about waking up late, um, which is more aligned with who I usually am when I'm healthy. So I'm glad to see those things. Um, you know, like I said, I would like to talk about this more. I've kind of gone on for 34 minutes, not really talking about the real in depth part. One, I'm too tired. Two, um, I think I need to write it down. You know, so I'll probably write about it, and go in more detail about um, what the last year has been like. in my head. So anyway, uh, yeah, um, y'all have a good evening. Oh, no, I wanted to tell you this. Um, so because there was okay, I have two more things to tell you. So there was a reading or a reader. There was a reader that was having a conflict with another reader. And there was a comment, and I responded to that comment about, be careful of this type of um, something that they said or did is an indication of, um, psychosis or whatever. I said it. That was a couple months ago. And the reader might even remember that comment that I said. But reading that comment out loud after I said it, I literally just laughed at myself because I was describing myself as well. Um, and actually, that is when I really stopped messing with my tarot cards for a little bit because I was in fear of, and I was actually, uh, I was in fear of divination abuse. And actually, by digesting as many readings as I was, that's essentially what I was doing anyway. Um, my readings are still accurate. There is a reading that I did, and that's what's funny about it too. And watching my own videos back has always been helpful. It's like I created my own little way back to myself. Because I think I spent like 1 or 2 weeks watching all of my old videos too, and just like redigesting some of this information that helped me heal in the first place. But dang, I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, so another reader, uh, I had mentioned something, and that was also like a little sign that to myself. So I'm just like signaling to myself. Uh, Multiple times. And so also during this time, since some of my last videos, definitely stop watching tarot. And I've had to do that a couple times anyway. But yeah, it was getting to divination abuse, and then further delusions of grandeur. So, shout out to the readers. My apologies. But again, I had to go through it to get out. There is no way. Trying to prevent it is actually far more exhausting than just letting it happen. As long as you know that you're not going to hurt anybody, genuinely hurt somebody in a way that you can't take it back. Um, I think it is okay to allow yourself to succumb to um, delusion a little bit. I mean, I'm on the other side now, and you can't see me, so you don't even know what I look like right now. But my skin has improved so much that Aaron has noticed it. A lot of different little things here and there, and those are all things that happen right as I came out of psychosis, and it was just like that. It just happened very quickly. But I forgot what I was gonna say. It was something important. It was I'm gonna go to bed now. If I remember anything, I'll be back. Take care.